So the topic of today's podcast, the name of the podcast, MarketAbilities, means we have many, many abilities to market whatever it is that you need, correct?
Anything.
Anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
It could be an acorn.
Oof.
Let's pass on acorns
Let's
right now.
do, because that's really boring. I mean, just,
Yeah.
do you mean the physical acorn or like
I don't know.
acorn? There's
I
an
feel like we
investment
could do
group.
something really creative with a squirrel.
Oh, that's right.
See, opening the
Okay.
doors.
Yeah, I mean, the
Yeah.
skiing squirrel is known around the globe.
Any squirrel trainers want to get in on this?
We don't need any squirrel trainers right
Okay.
now. No. Maybe later when we take on the acorn.
That's not a no.
When we figure out how we can
Yeah.
make money with the acorn.
When we figure out the acorn, we'll move on to squirrels.
Can we
That's right.
can we create a documentary, like a behind the scenes documentary called Taking on the Acorn?
Yeah.
I don't know how many. I mean, can you hear the crickets all of a sudden because of the acorns? Hang on.
So why are we here today?
Okay, listen. It's something we've dealt with in the TV biz for ever, and it's called the cutting room floor. And I guess they deal with that in film as well. And it's all of that really great stuff that just because of time is lost. You know, nowadays we've got a ton of different places to put all this content.
Right.
So it's better. But man, that's still, if you think of if the cutting room floor could talk, that'd be something.
Yeah.
Right.
I recently cut an interview.
Here he goes.
with,
He's going to brag. He's going to brag.
Our good friend Tim Estilos got a very long interview.
Well, but it was a great interview, and
With-
he's a mega star.
Anson Williams of Happy Days fame.
Gosh.
Yeah.
A decade on the air. Prime time. I couldn't remember if I watched after school or prime time. Happy Days was prime time.
I think
don't
so.
know.
It was big. It was big enough for John Lennon to show up on set.
See, how does
That's a
he?
big deal.
He gets all that
That's a
inside
big
info.
deal.
Yeah, no doubt.
So I had this discussion with Angie. We've got 50 minutes worth of
50.
gold mine content.
Thanks, Tim.
Wow.
Thanks for that.
And the show, I had
It's
this
50
analogy.
minutes, yeah.
We can only fit like maybe 9 of it. And the analogy I made was, I don't have a wheelbarrow big enough to carry all this gold out of this mine.
Oh, that is what he said, and I go, stop the presses. What? A gold mine?
So it was just full of stuff, and we're gonna figure out some way to use it.
Yeah.
But a lot of it was very interesting because he has a perception of Hollywood that is very different than what I think a lot of people think when they hear the word Hollywood.
Oh, sure.
I have
Yeah.
some talking points I want to go over of some stuff that he brought up that I think is so poignant and hits us hard as producers ourselves.
Okay, what we're
Yeah.
listen, we may be taking for granted here that people understand what we're talking about in the way of a show. So this is
Yeah.
our podcast, MarketAbilities, and this is how we promote the work of Growing Media, which is a marketing ad agency here in Carbondale, Illinois, Nashville, Tennessee, soon to be in another part of the state. Listen, we have cameras will travel anywhere, any state, any continent on the globe.
Alaska.
Alaska. We've been to Alaska. We've been in the middle of the Bering Sea for a fish company. That was fun.
Jeez.
Yeah. But anyway, we produce a TV show, a long-running TV show called The Spiel, and it's been on a Fox Midwest affiliate. But of late, we're really trying to push this thing on YouTube. So not only the shows, you can just binge watch and find them all there, but we're also realizing that everyone has the attention of an squirrel looking for an
Yeah.
acorn.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that we need to give it to them in bits and pieces, right?
Yeah.
And so we talked about featuring this usual spiel on entertainment with Anson Williams, brought to us by Tim Estilos, our best buddy. Taking the long form, like the unedited, are we going to call it that? But it's really not.
I think we should just call it a raw or a deep dive.
a
Like,
deep dive. I
learn
like
Hollywood.
Learn it.
Anson Williams is.
That's it. So it'll be
Tim
there.
calls it like a brief history of Hollywood with Anson Williams,
Yeah.
something like that.
Tim called it a very expensive interview because it was 50 minutes and he wanted to be
Yeah.
paid for it all. And I'm
And
like,
it's-
really, Tim? Really? Yeah. But anyway, so what we wanted to do today on the spiel is take that first, you said 10 minutes was sort of like the business of Hollywood and being Hollywood during that era, which was a decade, right?
Yes. Anson worked as a young man on the Happy Days set from 74 to 84.
And he had to play a not so smart young man.
Yeah.
Remember Potsy?
But it was a role that was lovable.
Very. And he was cute. Really
And
cute. Still is.
that show had a lot of things trying to hold it back, but it pushed through. I don't know how many people know this, but there were 2 pilots for Happy Days,
Right.
and the very first
Rejected.
pilot was full rejected on the premise that there was not
you know
enough
I had no idea.
innovation, not enough quality, not enough character. They didn't see it going anywhere.
Wow.
I'm sorry, Cunninghams. I mean, Richie,
Those were
Joni.
those were sad days.
Ralph Mount. Was Ralph, did he come on when the other star? Of the
Yes, the other star of the show, who I'm sure everyone knows.
Lucas is named after him.
Yeah, Fonzie.
Yes.
That's
Good old
right.
Uncle Henry.
That's it.
Yep.
Henry Winkler, yes.
Henry
that's-
Winkler.
Okay, so yeah, finish that story. I'm sorry about the second pilot after that introduction. That was so good. I
So
love that.
some stuff came out after the first pilot that really changed their perspective on how they wanted to do Happy Days. The first thing was graffiti.
Oh,
The second thing was grease.
Grease. Right?
They looked
Okay.
at those
Remember?
Yeah.
50s Americana Wonderland type productions, and they were like, we have to do that.
Yeah.
John Travolta was too expensive, I bet.
Yeah. But they landed on a gold mine with Henry, another gold mine. Anson said they wanted a different kind of Fonzie when they first started casting.
John Travolta.
Me. Sorry. Yeah, go
Lucas.
ahead.
They wanted this big, lovable oaf type of character
That's not me.
who did look the greaser part, but would maybe be comedy relief, would show up every once in a while and just be this kind of a little bit of edge to the show. And then Henry Winkler walks into set, says 6 lines, and despite everything on the casting card, the description of the character, they fell in love with him immediately and they cast him in the role. And
He was a foot shorter than what they wanted, and I loved that. I just, it's what it means to be in the right place at the right time and doing the right things, I guess.
And the way Anson put it was he made that role.
Wow.
Every time Henry was on set, he did something with that role that they weren't ready for. That
What was the
he
first line, though?
Pushing it.
You skipped over that. He said something like, hey, he actually coined that, I believe, didn't he?
He said something along the lines of, well, the way it happened, not quite like that. Well, the way it happened, something like that. And
Look at
and
him, look at him auditioning.
they
for these
fell in
cons
love
all
with
of a
it.
sudden.
Yeah.
I almost was doing like a John Wayne. Like, he walked in, and he puts his hands up, very Italian, and he immediately gets it deeper register. He's like, well, the way it happened. And Anson said that the Gary Marshall was like, stop the presses. This is the guy.
Here he
Wow.
is.
This is the guy that is going to run TV for the next 10 years. This is the guy.
Holy crap.
I love
And
that.
they
so good.
They filmed the second pilot, and it was a smash hit.
That's awesome.
It just flew right off the shelf.
yeah.
That's so cool.
How many leather jackets did he require during the 10 years, I wonder?
I don't know. Probably. Well, leather lasts a while,
It does.
so maybe
What if it
maybe
was
they
just
didn't.
one?
If it was just the one jacket,
That jacket's so expensive right now.
And he flips and you go, hey, you remember? You
Oh,
probably
yeah.
didn't watch it. You
No,
guys are
I
too
watched the show because of my last name. I had to.
young. Yeah, no doubt.
And
But-
I'm distantly related.
yeah.
yeah.
So, did he talk more about the funding for that show? Was it an expensive show to make? Did he go into any of that, or what were some of those other little gold mine pieces that you had to share with us?
So he really went into Gary Marshall, the creator himself, as like this shining beacon of business mind and mantra in Paramount Pictures,
Yeah, early Hollywood.
early Hollywood. And he said it's different. You guys all think it is one way in Hollywood, but it's not. He brings up this story about how Gary put basically a basketball hoop on set so that when the guys weren't shooting and
They were
shooting
shooting.
ideas, they were shooting.
Wow.
And
I knew you were slam dunk.
basically
Yeah.
he wanted to provide them a sort of community on set where they felt like they could relax and they could really enjoy this setting and get into their roles, and become the family that they portrayed on.
And it showed.
On
That's
TV.
such a good idea.
Well, we do that. I mean, that's why in your business, I'm sure you do this as well. You got to have those company outings. You got to go on trips together. I mean, you don't know people you work with until you go on a trip with them. Like, oh my gosh, this one. But anyway,
Prescott.
no, I think that was brilliant. And that's part of the reason why I think he had such success is because very quickly, you know, as much time as they spent on set and then to know each other in that personal way as well. It transcends.
I mean, it probably only makes the show better.
Totally.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally.
And Anson had this to say about Gary. Gary wanted to originally be a teacher before getting into the entertainment industry, but he found it more lucrative to go into the entertainment industry. So when he started at Paramount, his goal was to make it like a college.
Okay.
Anson says in the interview, they paid us to go to the best film school ever. Like that, he was so inundated with knowledge when
Did
he
he
was
talk
at
about
Paramount.
what they were paid for that role?
He did not get into specifics on money, so I think maybe
Tim was
either
too
he
scared
didn't,
to ask, wasn't he?
either he didn't really know, or it was not something he wanted to talk about. So
Man, that Richie Cunningham, he took all the cash, I bet.
I don't blame him.
No.
there was so much dropped, like in this interview, quotes that Anson took from Gary that I think will resonate a lot with you, especially Angie.
Why
And
not
I'm
me?
gonna go off because I just think that you're so hard all the time.
Are you
like-
just?
Who's hard? Me?
I'm just kidding. just kidding.
I am hard.
No, you're just
Jeez,
like you're
that's
just
what
like
Happy Days, 10 years of Happy Days did to me. I'm totally kidding.
I'm just playing, Lucas.
Totally kidding.
I just when I heard these, I
I feel like you're
thought
profiling
of,
me.
Well, I heard these. I thought of Growing Media, and I thought of a lot of things that you've said on the Spiel, and a lot of things that have been said in meetings, and how you feel about the industry. So, the first quote is,
Don't get in the way of yourselves. Forget the ego. If you want to last in this business, you have to wear a lot of hats.
Ooh, love that.
and so I was talking to Lucas before we started. I think that Gary was trying to teach these kids when they were kids in the 70s. You have to be flexible. You have to be ready for anything. Like, this is your piece of the pie. You have to take it. And so he was trying to teach them how to be entrepreneurs, not just how to be actors.
Awesome.
I want to finish up with a couple more of these quotes because
Totally.
I think
Love
they are
that.
they are
Let's do it.
places we should have our minds at.
You're in it, never be of it. It's what you do, it's not who you are.
And my perspective on Gary's quote is that he wants them to run the business of Hollywood, not just to be Hollywood.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what made
Because
them unique.
you see so many people that are just trying to be Hollywood, and they're missing the mark, and they're flailing and they're making jokes of themselves. Whereas Gary's idea was, this is a business, run it like a business, be like professionals, learn from each other, constantly grow, and never forget who you are.
Yeah.
Don't just be Hollywood. Don't just become Hollywood once you get here. Always be yourself, but do Hollywood.
Man, I got a crazy story. So, working as an anchor reporter in Boston, the general manager was a Texan, right? And keep in mind, we're in Boston, Massachusetts. I'm from Alabama, right? So, and a young Alabamian at that. I was there in my 20s. And I wanted so badly to look and to sound like the seasoned anchors, Diane Sawyer and all of those others. And I would dig deep and I would look at the camera and try to be them and emulate them in some way. And I got a call up to Bob Gordon's office. That never happened before. And I walked in, he said, "Sit down." And I said, "Yes, sir." I think I was shaking, probably visibly nervous. And he said, if you don't stop trying to act like someone else, I'm going to fire your bleep.
Oh wow.
Started with an A. I respected that. I said, "Wait, are you giving me permission to be me?" He said, "I'm telling you to be you."
Wow.
Powerful.
That's incredible.
That changed the course of everything, I think,
Yeah.
after that. I was fired, and then I went. No, I'm totally kidding.
You still do the voices in the
I did.
mirror
I
every
did not
day?
learn my lesson.
No, but I loved that. And look, the same thing was said to a very successful cast and crew, and it really makes you can be the best version of you
Right.
rather than being second, third, fourth best of someone else that you're trying to emulate.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, and you'll never be that person.
No.
It's not possible.
No.
So yeah.
I have one last one, and this one, I love it.
On your famous platform, he said, take your light and put it on someone else important that should be heard, that can help considerably, in their world. Use it productively. It's not really for you. It's for others.
Oh,
We were talking about that. So that's literally the spiel.
That is literally our
that is what we
mantra
do.
Yeah.
That is what we do. no
because
doubt.
everybody needs what we do. You say that all the time.
I
We
agree.
take that light, we quite literally take our light
Yep.
and put it on the people that need it. And that is
Me.
the blood and heart of this industry. And if we forget that that's what it's all about, we're going to lose it. So as long as we keep that like here in our hearts, I don't know if you guys can see.
That's a
what I was-
great message for any
then
business, for any
we know what
person.
we're doing
Yeah.
and we're doing it right.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. I love that. And I hope you guys loved this podcast. We got a lot of them now. Are we like at 170? What is it?
This will be episode 32.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it was close. I was close.
Yeah, it's the best one, right? The best episode
So far. Yeah. So far.
Checking.
I like your hat, by the way.
Yeah. I wonder where
Yeah,
I got it.
speaking of wearing a lot of hats.
Oh, I don't feel like we heard much from you today, so I'm so glad we just heard that, right?
Got any more jokes
You-
to riff off of?
I feel attacked right now.
Do your best Fonzie impression. I think that's where we need to close this out.
Hey!
Goodbye,
Bye.
everybody. Nice.